Hey, hi everyone. There were a number of questions that were sent to me in a chat, and I actually had to reboot my computer, so I've lost those questions. So if you could maybe either, if you have your hand up, that's great. We can just go person to person, or if you can send those to Tayama, that would be great as well, and she could queue it up for me at some point. And yeah, she posted a message there. If we could just kind of, we have a lot of people with their hands up, so maybe just try to keep it concise and just one question per person until we get through everyone. That'd be great.
Awesome. We're going to start today with some of the ones that had their hands up yesterday that we didn't get to. And if you're one of those, I'll be calling on you first. So we're going to go to Sue T.
Hey Dan.
Hi, Sue.
Uh, so, but even before the retreat, I was sort of like following, I'm going to call it intuition, because I was starting to have just a lot of things happening that were confusing, and but I knew something significant was going on. So I've continued to do that. Like I've had huge surges of energy. Um, I've had places of pain, and I've used, I feel like I've made the energy a tool to help me get through the pain and get through the, sorry, I can't even see you right now. There we go. Um, to get through, like, I didn't even know what chakras were 3 weeks ago. I had to Google them because I was like, something's going on here. Um, but it seems to help me to go up through the chakras and up to the crown. But I'm finding there are very dramatic things happening when I've done that. Like a couple of times I've just followed that urge and thrown my head way back and like silently screamed because I felt like I needed to release the tightness in my throat. Like, anyway, my question is, do I just continue following those intuitions or whatever you want to call them to
Mm-hmm.
keep moving? Because I feel like I've given birth to the death of myself, at least partially, maybe the placenta or whatever needs to keep,
Yeah.
but it's something significant going on here. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, or
Yeah, sometimes the energy, it is like giving birth. It feels, it goes in waves like contractions, and yeah, yeah, I would say, if that energy, we really don't have much control over it, really. Like if we try and, manage it or control it or manipulate it in any way, it usually doesn't go well, with like trying to suppress it or shut it down or manage it somehow. Really, that intelligence, it's doing stuff. So whether it's kriyas or movements, releases, expressions, all of that, it just happens. It feels like it's just happening usually, and we can sort of align with that, or just allow it to unfold, or if it becomes too much, sometimes we can ground that energy. If it's happening too quickly, we can, like if we're, really doing a lot of meditation, really going deep in the practice, it does tend to open it up very quickly. So, doing things like, just grounding, in bare feet on the ground outside, or going for a walk, that type of thing. The food we eat can ground that energy as well. So if it becomes overwhelming, I would say then, we could ground it. And it also, when that energy comes to life as well, sometimes we get intuitions about what it wants to do. Like for me, when that energy came online, it's almost like, all of the films and all of my creative stuff that I'm doing became the conduit for that energy. So it's important, that the energy is wanting to go somewhere eventually. Like at first it might be just rewiring the body, and there's this kind of reconfiguration that's happening, in the body. But then the energy, once the body's sort of rewired, that energy is life energy. So it's, and I feel like every person, there's like what Carl Jung talked about, the individuation of the soul. There's like a different bloom for everyone, and that energy wants to go into that bloom. Yeah. So does that answer your question, or
Yes,
does
thank you
it make sense?
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Rora.
What was the name again, Tayama?
Rora.
Laura?
Rora. Roya. Rora.
Oh, Roya.
Roya.
Okay.
Roya.
Okay. Hi, Roya.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi. Sorry, I didn't get my name. The question is, previously I used to do guided meditation, but since yesterday I started observing the thoughts. Then I found myself in a state of hide and seek. Whenever I want to observe the thoughts, they disappear. And then when I don't pay attention or I don't observe them, they come back. There is in a situation, there is some sort of fight or kind of hide and seek in a situation going on in my mind. I do not know how I can go through, so I can be an observer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a process of being persistent with it. Usually like at the beginning, it's unconscious, so that we just get the thoughts just come, where all of a sudden we're just lost in the thought, and it's very hard to look at the thoughts directly. So just by intending to see the thoughts, looking at that visual auditory space, waiting, it is like it's like a cat that's waiting for the mouse to come out of the mouse hole, and as soon as the cat's there, the mouse doesn't want to come out, but sometimes if we really just relax, into that space of watching, and it's almost like the space that I describe, that's sort of perfect. It's not being like super hyper attentive, but almost like letting yourself relax a bit and almost let the mind dream a bit, if that makes any sense. And sometimes, like one of the ways we can really start to wire into the space where we can look directly at thoughts is when you go to bed at night. There's an in-between state when we go to sleep. They call it when that hypnagogic imagery starts to come. So the mind, as sometimes when we're about to fall asleep, it starts to produce images, like dream-like images. And when you're in that space before you go to bed, it's a great way to be able to look directly at the mind, because you're kind of in that in-between state. And that's a way to kind of train yourself to be attentive into that space. And there's sort of a wiring in that happens with that as well. So you could maybe try that tonight when you go to bed. But also, if we're too like hyper vigilant in the practice, sometimes those thoughts just won't come as well. So I would say, there's a kind of open, very relaxed state that we can come into where we can start to look directly at the mind. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yamel.
Hi.
Hi,
Well,
Emma.
my question has to do with all you said this morning. I had everything. I had a lot of fear. Old patterns started showing up of patterns of thought. I got a really bad headache after the diet, and I was feeling so tired. But there's some, then my mind came in and said, oh, you're too tired, you're not feeling well, you better rest and not connect to the rest of the dynamics. And I did. And that's the part where I see it, but after I acted, like I get hooked on that thought, I acted, and I feel like I'm boycotting myself. And it's a very big pattern that I can see I have, but I have not been able to break with them. And I really want to be able to go deeper, in my practice. And, so I don't know if you have any suggestions or what I can do with that.
So did you say you did go back to the practice, or you didn't go back?
No, I didn't connect.
Okay.
But later on, I noticed that. I got hooked on that excuse my mind put. I acted it, and I was thinking I should have just stayed with the headache and accompany myself and push myself a little bit to trespass it.
Yeah, there is a sort of middle way with it, for sure. And just that experience that you had, you're seeing and now describing that mind pattern. So you're seeing what's in play. So you're making it conscious. So the next time that thought comes, this whole practice is really, it comes down to not believing our thoughts. If we're if we're in presence, and we're just here in this moment, then there's no problem with it. But the moment the thought comes and we believe the thought, the thought isn't even a problem. It's only when we believe the thought and react to it, then there's that interrupt, and the habit pattern of the mind plays out. So I would just say, just keep going, and sometimes the mind will snag us. It's not a big deal. We just see it. You've learned from it now. So just find that middle way of just going beyond the comfort zone. So not indulging these thoughts, but we don't want to go so far beyond our comfort zone that we're brutalizing ourselves as well. So there's definitely a middle way with that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dan. Great to be back.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see you. Yeah.
Out, man.
Hi everyone. I have a question. So sometimes when I meditate intensively, I become free, energy flow free. But when I engage with my all-day life, when I do activities, so slowly this energy, I lose this energy. So I come back my natural state. So my question is how to integrate um, this being in my daily life. So I can meditate when I'm the boss, when I'm walking, but when I'm reading or I'm learning for university, so I lose this energy.
Yeah, that's a good question, and it really, everyone who has an experience of these, beautiful states in meditation. They ask the same question. They want to stay in that state. So this is the most important distinction, and this is something that we can explore in the self-inquiry directly. We want to be able to distinguish between the state, that changes, so there's an energetic state that changes, and the truth of who you are. So those states will always come and go throughout life. There's energy that's always changing, and these, so there are states of beautiful states of absorption, where we're more present, the mind is silent, but that's a mind body state. If it changes, then it's just a state, and it's impermanent. So there's no state that we can hold forever. So our true nature is not a state. It's waking up to that awareness that is ever present. And so when that primordial awareness awakens, that's the end of seeking. That's the end of this, sense that I've got it, I've lost it. This awareness is ever present, and the biggest sort of delusion of everyone's mind is that they need to somehow hold that or get it back in some way, that they can lose it. It can't be lost. So that awareness is here right now. It's the knower of this experience right now is that awareness. So in the self-inquiry, if we have an awakening, if the mind goes very quiet, we're abiding as that awareness. It's an opportunity to watch then the mind come back. The mind state will always change. It's always fluctuating, and to just recognize the preferences in the mind, for certain states. There are certain states that are just, more greater sense of ease, and then there are contracted states, and that's going to fluctuate. And there's an ongoing purification process after awakening as well to purify the remaining samskaras. So it's going to fluctuate. The mind body will fluctuate, but the big thing is the end of seeking. To not be looking or preferring one state over another. It's the fastest way to really progress on the path, is just to be okay with what state is here right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Ryan.
I was really determined to sit through the pain that I've been having in the previous meditation. I kind of gave up early, and so yesterday, and so I was really determined to stick with it this time. And I was watching my thoughts. The pain is not bad. It's just like basically my leg is feeling a stretch, and over time it gets more and more profound. And um, it got to the point again where I gave up, and um, and like 30 minutes in or so, and um, I was just really upset in that moment, and basically spent the rest of the time crying because there's just a lot of emotion around giving up, and um, I don't know. I'm just tired of that. I don't want to give up anymore.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, there, what's coming up for me is, I remember Adyashanti talking about his experience at the Zen Center, and how it's quite brutal, sitting for long times, depending on your body as well. Some people, and sometimes like our nervous system can only take so much, so it's not a failure. Like you're doing the work. There's sometimes like at the Zen Center, like what we're doing here, these are long sitting periods. So usually at the Zen Center, they'll, every 40 minutes or so, get up and do a walking meditation, in between, like do a little reset, come back, and just go back into it fresh. And you're rewiring the mind body doing that. It's still very deep practice. And it's really, at the Zen Center, it's only the people in the black robes they're sitting continuously, not moving for the 2 hour sessions. So it is a process. It's like we can't go, like the mind wanting that, that level of single pointed practice. It really is a process to get to that point, and it takes time. So how many years have you been practicing?
Just about a year and a half.
Yeah. So, and like how much do you do every day?
Probably 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're going from, a little bit every day to like this is the full on marathon, So it's yeah, just go easy on yourself. It's not it's like you're diving into the deep end here, and it takes time to establish that wiring, and yeah, it really is a process. It is a practice. So yeah, you're not failing by any means. Just if the body is reaching a point where it is going into overwhelm, and it's at a certain point it really isn't productive to push the body beyond a certain point. So just find that middle way. And there are times where it's actually more beneficial to go easy on ourselves. For me, my pattern, my teacher always said I was trying to storm the gates of heaven and push through, and it was actually harder for me to step back and nurture myself when I needed it than to just keep brutalizing the body. So finding that middle way is it's really important.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. There's been lots of people asking about pain, so that was probably good for everyone. Louis.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Louis.
Hi. To talk to you. So I had a question about nightmares. I usually get I usually don't have good dreams anyway, but when I meditate, I usually get more nightmares or more vivid nightmares, and I want to know, like what's going on is it a clearing process?
Mhm.
And kind of related to this question and something you addressed earlier is just before falling asleep. I have this since I was a kid. Like once in a while, um, I'll I'll be half asleep and I'll have this sleep paralysis, and I get a lot of sounds coming in.
Mhm.
And obviously I try to scream and move and I can't do much until I will myself out and I have to turn on the lights to sleep. And
Mhm.
sometimes when I meditate, I get a little bit of that sound. So it's a real loud sound.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's a loud voice or some anger or something.
Mm.
And want to know what's going on.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting that, like, sometimes in our practice, this can happen at night or on the cushion. It's like we're coming to these deeper levels of mind, making the unconscious mind really conscious. So sometimes we'll come to these levels where they're really, it's almost like an archetypal level. Like there can be aspects of the collective unconscious. We sometimes tune into human suffering and all these different things that are in play in the collective unconscious, and usually we're not aware of that at all. So in my own practice, I went through a period where I started having these quite horrific dreams, or more than actually dreams. It was actually like waking up in different characters. And so like one character might be in a war scenario, in a trench, crawling through trenches and getting blown apart, and be one thing after another. And my feeling, like, after experiencing it, I had a teacher who kind of helped me understand what was happening as well. And he actually, I didn't want to tell him, what was happening, because I thought, my mind is really messed up or something. And he was like, oh, this is good. Like, this is actually, finally you're opening the unconscious. You're seeing, all that's been sort of repressed and pushed away and hidden. And so what he feels, and I feel this is true as well. Sometimes we're shown things at night, and with even with entheogens, sometimes they call it night school, where we're in night school, where a higher part of the mind comes online and will show us stuff. And if we react to it, it's an opportunity to not react, to just allow, to see all the parts of this whole game that we're in, all the dimensions of Maya, and to just allow it to be as it is, because it's all there. We just aren't tuned into it most of the time. So I feel like, when we do this sadhana and this practice, sometimes we'll be put into night school, and we're given this opportunity to just allow, everything. And we're usually, sometimes it's a real test to just be equanimous with whatever it is, and not go into fear. But it's, I believe, it's part of the purification process to just love what is, just say, okay, this is the whole, crazy, horrific mess of Maya. It's beautiful, it's horrific, it's everything. So we're I think meant to just open our heart to all of it and just allow it.
Yeah. So I guess just keep going, because these nightmares would eventually be purified and go away, or something else would kind of happen.
I think so. And there can be there can be times where would you say it's overwhelming at any point? Like, are you going to an overwhelmed state? Or?
I guess it's just when I wake up when I wake up, obviously the emotions are very strong. Or when I'm in that half asleep mode when the noise comes, like the fear is so strong, I just need to wake up or get myself to wake up.
And what is your transition like when you go to bed at night? Do you sort of go into the sleep cycle like with an intention to be awake or to stay awake, or?
If I put an intention, I will get more. Sometimes I don't put it, it's random.
Yeah. So if if you really kind of continue the practice when you go to bed, just resting as awareness, just being aware, the mind will start to generate phenomena. And if you can start to look at the mind and what it's producing, from awareness, then that whole process of what's unfolding in night will be more conscious. So we're less likely to, get snagged. Our dream character will be less snagged by it or identified with it, and so that residue of whatever that is, the emotional residue, will be not as
strong,
prevalent as well. So yeah, to me it seems like an opportunity to just really carry an intention through the sleep cycle, and just be aware, continue the practice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christian.
Namaste.
Namaste.
The diets in this retreat are the first in my entire life. And I remember in your introduction that you mentioned the aspect that the direct connection between the different screens will support the interchange of energy. That's the interpretation of my mind. But my mind also is telling me, well, I'm just watching and looking and talking to a screen. Here's my question. Is there any tangible explanation for the miracle Christian experienced, that he was falling directly in a connection to each partner, full of love, even sharing the pain as witness, which was described by the subject? It's kind of similar, like Ina Ponte described it to last night, plus regardless of gender. That's my question.
So, yeah, I just want to clarify the question a little bit. So, so you're asking, how does that process work? Is that kind of what you're asking?
I mean, technically, I'm watching here. I'm staring at a screen, but still, I feel like that each partner would be sit in front of me personally. That's how.
Yeah, well, it's all consciousness. So it's like, the analogy I use sometimes is like a VR game. So our whole human experience is it's like a VR game. So we're in this avatar. We have other avatars appearing in front of us. But it's really all a projection of these five skandhas. It's all sensations, perceptions, preferences towards those perceptions. It's all arising on the screen. So who are we? Who am I? There's this consciousness that's aware of it. So it's like a show arising in consciousness, for consciousness. So whether it's on a screen, the human experience seems to be set up for this kind of absorption into what's arising on this the screen of consciousness. So even watching a TV show, we get sucked into it. We there's stuff unfolding. So yeah, it's mysterious. I don't really know how it works, but it's it's awesome though.
It is. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Zoo.
Okay, so I have two things to share. And one is that last night, before going to bed, I had a intuition, a thought to do TRE, which is trauma or tension release exercises. But my body was really tired and lazy. But as soon as I went into bed, the body started to do its unwinding for a very long time. And then tears came, lots of crying, but it was over in 30 seconds. So the body was releasing itself at the end of the day. Naturally.
That's awesome. Yeah, that can be a powerful tool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, and that's a common feature, I think, for a lot of people. The energy starts to become free of the old pattern, and then there can be a lot of reconfiguration and twitching and all of that stuff. Yeah.
And the second thing is there's been this falling into a naturalness in the meditation where I'm observing all the continuum of the meditation, like being very tired, being very mind identified, and just watching, and then it shifts, and then to being the opposite of staying in awareness, just following the breath, in and out, in and out. And the two continuum of being mind identified and being in presence, both feel the same. They feel like there's a suction, there's a so I'm in the mind, so I'm in the mind, and then it lets go. And then I'm in presence, and then it lets go.
Yeah.
But there's like a slight difference in the feeling of one is contracting, the thought is there's this feeling of the forehead is like the jaw is clenching, there's stuff going on in the body. And then the other one is just in and out, it's like, oh, this is so pleasurable. There's something very pleasurable about the mundane, about the breath.
Yeah, I think when you said, there was like a similarity or a oneness. I forget what word you used there, but it to me it's like there is one taste to all experience. When we sort of feel that one taste, that awareness is always experiencing, then it is it's blissful. It's not, but it's not good or bad. It's that word bliss is tricky because it isn't, we usually think of bliss as just good, as a positive thing. But to me, the non-dual bliss is it's something beyond that. It is very connected to this one taste or this one whatever it is that is at the essence of that whole continuum.
Yeah, and I call it naturalness because it feels like, so I'm watching everything in terms of the pain in the body, and then being very curious of, oh, what is a pain? What is a pain? And then, oh, and then there's this feeling of naturalness, like pain is natural, or being caught in the mind, and it's like, oh, that's natural too. And then the body having contractions according to some thoughts, but everything feels so okay and not a problem. And then there were tears of gratitude for this thing that's always here through all of the stories of what's happening that's going in and out. It's like watching a theater play, the characters going in and out, and then just still here, enjoying all of it. And it's like, oh, this is what I'm looking for. But I pinch myself off when I start to resist.
Mhm.
When I resist, like I'm not aware of this like, and then when I'm grasping, I'm like, I'm chasing this thing and I'm not aware of this that's always there. So then it's just all of a sudden today, I was just watching everything and still feeling the aliveness always here, watching the body not wanting to feel certain things and watching everything like watching the weather. It's like it's raining, it's sunny, and I don't have control over
Mhm.
the rain or the sun. I don't even have control over the thoughts that are arising. I don't have control when I go into an absorption. It's like I don't have control.
Yeah.
And it feels so relieving.
Yeah, that's it. It's, it's liberating when we realize all the control is just within the little character, but I don't have control, and I don't need control. I'm just here for the show, and whatever's arising, then, if I'm not controlling it and trying to manage it in some way, then it's just here. I have a direct experience. So it's like you said, the mundane is when we're having a direct experience of anything, it's a revelation. It's beautiful. It's that naturalness, is just what's arising here, whatever it is, and it the mind. It's only the mind that says it's good, it's bad, I want this, I want that. But when we let that go, whatever is arising, that it's that one taste, that direct experience of awareness in the moment. And yeah.
It feels really intimate. It feels like being with a lover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, excellent. Good place to be. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Zoo.
Thank you.
Doris.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Doris.
So I have a question. Excuse me. Almost 2 years ago, there was an incident where my best friend broke off our friendship, our relationship, and will not talk to me. And it was precipitated by something I did. I wrote her this letter, and anyway, it's I am consumed by this. The grief and the regret and the constant rumination. I go with it before I go to sleep. I sleep with it. I wake up with it, and it is very, very painful. And it's like it just consumes so much of my consciousness. It's like I don't even care who I am. I don't have the energy to even care or ask because I'm so consumed with this this grief and regret. And so, and then there's also the resistance to it because it's so painful. I don't want it to be there, and it's not going. It doesn't care whether I want it or not. Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering what you might say about that.
Yeah. So there's two ways that we can sort of work or deal with something like that. So one is through inquiry, so we can work within the self structure to sort of heal the wounds of the self structure, or we can wake up entirely from the self structure, so and both are viable options, both, and sometimes it doesn't have to be either or. It could be, we can work in both dimensions as well, so I've had I had someone at a retreat one time, and she was, working through similar challenges, in the psyche and experiences that have been had, and she had an awakening, and the first thing she said was like, "Wow, I don't need therapy anymore. I'm not that character," so. But then she actually did go back into therapy. Like the mind actually was quite persistent. So it was actually really beneficial to work in both dimensions. So sometimes sometimes it can be a very practical solution. Like if that person still around in your life?
Well, we live in this community, so I still see her once in a while, but she won't talk to me.
Yeah. So, so there are ways to, work within the self structure, like to feel that completely, so anything that we're holding, and it's repeating, there's something there that, like you said, you wake up with it. It's something, it's become like a little program that is repeating in the unconscious now, and this regret. So, anything that's repeating in the unconscious means we haven't had a complete experience of it. So, so the way, to become free of all of these samskaras is to have a complete experience. So, so this, what's coming up for you right now, this is prime material to work with in the self-inquiry. So when you're working with your partner, whatever hasn't been expressed, whatever hasn't been communicated, this is an opportunity to have a complete experience of that, of that regret, of that whatever is being held in the mind and body. And if you fully communicate it with your partner, sometimes it takes more than one go. If it's a really big pattern, it can take a few times. But I would say this is exactly the material we want to work with in the in the dyads. Yeah, does that feel like something that may come up? It sounds like it's right there. It's knocking at the door, ready to come up. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if things happen for a reason. Was this just a terrible mistake, or was there actually a reason why this happened? From some higher wisdom or something higher than.
That's a beautiful way to look at it. Yeah. Sometimes the things in life that seem, I had something like that in my life. I had someone in my business life who ended up, suing me and trying to steal my business and all that. And at the time, it was very difficult. But it was actually the thing that took me into meditation, because it made my mind so crazy. I realized I have to deal with this mind, so he was my teacher. He was actually my greatest teacher, even though he was my biggest pain in my ass as well. So I think sometimes these things come into our life for a reason. Yeah.
I don't want to.
And even if they don't, you can if you look at it that way, you're taking something and you're turning it to your benefit.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Marianne or Marianne, sorry if I mispronounce your name.
It's all good. It's Marian. Hi, Dan.
Hello.
So my question is about something you said yesterday. I think you said something to the extent of like we need to want this liberation, like someone who has his hair on fire or her hair on fire and looks for the water, put off the fire. And I'm sometimes questioning myself if I really want it enough, because I find myself kind of sabotaging my own meditation practice in various ways. Like I even find it hard establishing a continuous practice. One of the reasons my mind puts up is like that I don't have a stable home at the moment. I'm kind of leading a nomadic life, so I don't have a fixed place to meditate. So all these kinds of things that the mind throws up, and then I end up having no practice, and then I blame myself for it, and I end up in these loops. So is it that I just don't want it enough? But I mean, the fact that I'm here means that I obviously want it. And I've been kind of immersing myself in these teachings for many, many years, and I have this deep love for truth. But then there seems to be something that kind of doesn't move when it comes like to really establishing that practice.
Yeah, I would say, the fact that you're here, obviously, you've put yourself in these conditions. I think like the teacher that I work with, sometimes he would talk about, people at, different stages in their path. And sometimes he would say, that person just hasn't suffered enough in their life. They're not ready, so quite often it's the suffering or, if there's still a belief that there's something in the external world, that is going to lead to happiness, we're still putting energy into these external pursuits. There may be little unconscious or big unconscious beliefs that there's still something in the matrix, that's going to make life good. These beliefs, when we expose them, that energy that is released from putting energy into the matrix, that is the energy that will lead to liberation. That is the what will push us. It's like they in the traditions they call it Savitri. It's the rouser, the thing that rouses us from our slumber, that energy for liberation, and it's sometimes, that energy can be going into these unconscious beliefs and processes. So in your case, I don't know, but I suspect, like from what I've seen and witnessed over and over, it's when we come to a point, like my own partner, Lila, she reached a point with suffering in her life, and she was like, I don't care, how long it takes. I'm gonna do this liberation thing. I'm just gonna dive into sadhana without a goal, without an agenda. I'm just gonna do it to do it. And it's that mindset, that like I'm just going to be here in this practice and do it for the sake of the practice, for this moment, without any agenda. And to me that's sort of the hair on fire kind of mentality. It's like you're all in.
I've had my fair share of suffering in the last 2-3 years, and this topic of desires that you brought up, like still pursuing desires in the external world, I feel it's very, very alive for me, and my mind, I'm kind of oscillating between, on the one hand, not wanting to suppress desires and also not like renouncing everything in a kind of hermit idea. but then also really realizing that this is not going to take me anywhere. It's like an endless pursuit.
Yeah.
So putting these two is sometimes seems challenging.
Yeah, and it is, there's no, I can't really offer any, it is that is the path. These desires, sometimes they have to be explored. Sometimes it's not just about going straight for liberation. It's like we sometimes, the metaphor that I use sometimes is like, this whole tree of life that we're growing inside of us, the chakras and the energy pathways, all of that. It's not just a linear thing. It branches out horizontally as well. These explorations of these different levels. So, on my own path, there's been many desires or impulses to explore kind of horizontally, like going into, art and music and relationships and love interests and all of that. And these branches are part of the tree. It's not like we unless you're a very unique being, like, somebody like Ramana Maharshi, he sort of did just sit there and it didn't, he was relentless. But for most of us, I think the exploration of life is part of it. And it's not like we're transcending life. We're here for the human experience. So, how do we optimize that human experience? And so we want to be, living life fully, but at the same time not identified. And each one of these explorations that comes, the desire will grow something new, some new dimension of life for us. And and the challenge is, we can sort of crystallize a new self structure at that level and become attached to it, or we can experience it, without attachment. And that's, this exercise of continuous growing and evolution. Yeah. So I would say there's no problem with any of it. It's all, it's just the journey as it is. And, I think the problem of desire is, not that there is desire, but it's just knowing who desires. It's always, the character, that's looking and desiring, and it's not a problem. It's only a problem if it's my desire.
Yeah. And maybe just exploring the desires and be disappointed a sufficient amount of times so that in the end you really realize that it's not about all those desires.
Yeah, like they're always, anything in the external is going to be temporary, for sure. So at some point, the one who is always there, always aware of all of these experiences that come and go. There's only one thing that's you, the true you, that doesn't come and go. So until we find that which doesn't come and go and realize it to be ourself, we'll always be unfulfilled, because if our happiness is contingent on objective reality, it's always changing. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anna.
Hello, Dan.
Hi, Anna.
In the first 2 days in the inquiry, all I was seeing was my little I. Most probably I was identified with my little I, who was tired. He wanted to sleep. He wanted to rest, to put aside everything. Today, in the meditation this morning and this afternoon, following the technique of labeling the thoughts, of being auditory, visually, or both,
It was hard in the beginning. However, after a while, I realized that somehow all my life is like made of thoughts, actually, of succession of thought, conglomeration of thought. That was like, oh my God. And then the meditation was finished. And I lifted my lid, the skin, the piece of skin, the flesh, and another word appeared in front of me, which was somehow different from the previous one. And I was a bit confused. I saw my family member coming in the room, talking to me, and I was like looking confused to them, astonished. Are you real or not? It is you or not? How can I join them? How can I integrate like what I saw in the meditation with the so-called real life?
So,
If it's real.
so when you saw that, was it like a vision, like sort of? Sometimes I describe it as like the third eye. It's like you're seeing through the third eye, or does that make sense, or or how would you describe what you were seeing? Was it as real as this world here?
Oh, you mean in the meditation or now?
Yeah.
In the meditation, like I was somehow way backwards, and I was just labeling the thoughts, not entering into them, but seeing them, knowing them. And then at the moment I said, my goodness, but that is my so-called past, so-called future, and this is my life. It was nice. I said, my goodness, look how my life is actually. The more difficult thoughts, the more difficult problem, issue I used to struggle in my life, I saw them as a thought, and it was so easily to be removed. I mean, it's just a thought. You don't need to believe. You just need to label. You label it auditory or visually. And that was all. It was nice, a nice recognition. And then you said, stop, finish meditation. And I opened just this tiny narrow lid, and I saw another world, completely different from that one from the meditation. In the meditation, it was dark, night, nice. And now there is light, people coming, talking, and I'm looking at them. Are you real or not? And it's weird. And I don't know like how to behave to them. Not that I don't know, but to pretend that there is nothing or.
Yeah, so all kinds of phenomena can unfold, and so honestly, I don't know. I don't know the answer. So from what I've experienced myself and other people, there are countless sort of worlds and dimensions and possibilities that they're here right now. And sometimes it's like a portal can open up in our meditation, and we get a glimpse of that world, or we can have a full-on experience of that world. I trust that it's happening, for a reason, to show you.
Fufu, come here, Fufu.
Is somebody's microphone on there? Hang on. Yeah. So I would say, a couple things. So, all of these worlds that open up, different dimensions, higher worlds, this is still part of the phenomenal world, even though it's, we're accessing, it's like the energy sometimes connects with these worlds, but it's still Maya. It's still part of the changing phenomena. So I would say the most important thing is to just not get too concerned with it. Like just the main thing is, who are you? The one that is aware of this world and that world, the knower of all of it. And the energy will naturally just sort of connect us. Like when it comes to the higher worlds and spiritual realms, I've had all kinds of experiences with it, but I don't. I find that my little self doesn't have control over it. It's like sometimes the energy will just connect to it when it's meant to. So I don't really concern myself too much with it, and over time, those experiences they do come more and more. The more I just kind of let them come and go and not really worry about it, the more I seem to have. So yeah, I don't know, but the main thing is I think just knowing who you are and the knower of that experience. Yeah. So that's not the most satisfying answer, but that's the best I've got. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ildiko.
Hi Dan.
Hi there.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to first just express a deep gratitude for you and your work and the team.
Thank you.
Yeah, tremendous help in my journey. So a little bit nervous. I'm having that heart activated. Feels nice.
Awesome.
So I was participating in your this retreat also last year, and I had big breakthroughs, and still working with those and bringing them into my daily life. And self-expression for me is really difficult. So overcoming the patterns of that. I had so many merging experiences during the last 1 year, and I've been continuing to doing daily meditations and really self-inquiring up to the minute or even second of the day. So yeah, it's been a lot of work for me, it feels, but at the same time, when I'm not in self-expression to others, with myself and during the day, it's really flowing and sure and loving. So my question would be that when I'm on the cushion, when I'm just on my own, it feels really easy. It feels just being. But when I'm with others, there is a sense of insecurity, and so the pattern is coming back. And I would like to just get some pointers for that part. How can I really merge that what I experienced? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is just detached, and I would like to see your opinion on that.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Thank you. Yeah. So the way you're sharing right now is very. I have the feeling is you're very here. You're very open, and to me, so this sort of sensitivity of going into the world, and it's a blessing and a curse, because I feel it as well in myself sometimes. There's a when you're feeling everything with other people, that sensitivity can be a lot, and I would say that very same thing is like it's not a problem to be fixed. It's like if we resist that, like that's what's happening. So if we have resistance to it, that's just the mind, the preference of the mind for something to be other than what it actually is. And that feeling of like I'll share a little bit. I'm a piano player, so when I was a little kid, I used to do piano recitals, and I would get very overwhelmed and kind of I could practice on my own, and it was perfect. Everything flowed, and it's beautiful. And I would get in front of people, and it's like everything was felt contracted and sort of there wasn't the same sense of ease. And what I've come to realize over time is that sensitivity is actually what makes you a good piano player, or a good, like that responsiveness to, feeling what's happening in the moment. There's so much energy coming in, but that's life coming in as well. So it took me many years to sort of just allow that and to just be okay with it. It's like, that's just the way the Dan character is wired, and it's not really a problem, and it's actually there's a uniqueness and a sensitivity there that is that's just what it is. And so I would say and also on a practical level, the the dyads that we're using, that we're doing, it's an opportunity to I see it as sort of a bridge between the cushion and the world as well. And if you mentioned you're doing dyads on your own as well, that's an amazing sort of bridging practice to be able to express from the truth of who you are, directly. And you're doing it now, it's perfect. Yeah.
That's I do the dyads, and also went to a real life retreat where we've been sitting face to face here in Europe.
Great.
So I do that, and I guess it's just overcoming of that self-expression and being seen really in that new self that is me now.
Yeah, that's it. And it's that sense of ease comes more and more, the more we put ourselves in that situation where we keep our heart open, just communicating, that there is a sort of rewiring that happens over time as well, and a sense of ease that will come the more we do it. The more you put yourself out there and let yourself be seen.
And just being patient with it, right? Not uh, expecting that everything should blossom in after 1 year of hard work,
Yeah,
but it's unfolding naturally, and I should just follow my bliss, I guess.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's
Thank you so much.
Good advice to yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Coming from you as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more, and we're going to go with Bushra.
Okay.
Adam.
Hi, Bushra.
Hi. So related to this process, I'm having one difficulty, which is sitting. Basically, I was following the process from the last year, trying to do it. So right now, I'm in a situation where I have medical glucometer reading kind of stuff I have to do. So I was doing that, and it was failing there. So the mind is going there is like, something wrong, something expectation about future that is coming out. And I see that in the diet, the chatter is less. Somewhere I was looking in the diet like to express those stuff, but it feels so safe there. The mind is relief, like the whole body. I'm just observing. It feels more safer place there. And when I'm alone, sitting alone during meditation right now, the whole chatter is showing up. Like cannot do it, and I have to walk because when the medical people are saying you have to do this, do that, so I'm struggling with the retreat timing and the medical people what they are saying. At this time, do this. At this, I see the pattern. Like earlier, I was just following this process, and I like shutting down every chatter of the world, like like what people are saying about, oh, you are doing wrong on this and that, just following the process. But right now there is juggle that is happening, and could you guide me on that a bit?
What was the last thing you just said? There's a what that's happening?
There's struggle going on. That I'm doing wrong. Like I want to focus on the retreat, but I'm not. And it's like losing,
So yeah, so it sounds like like the circumstances of what's happening. There are practical things that you're following right now, health things. So it's just the way. It's giving you a little bit more to work with in the retreat, than you normally would. So to me, it's like it's like the retreat is already, challenging. So it's like you've put on extra weights, or you have a little bit more of a challenge. So but it's happening. So I would say it's about finding that balance, just with all of it, and just saying yes to it. Really the whole practice comes down to, discovering where we have resistance to what's happening. So this is what's happening. So this is your practice, to just be with what is unfolding in your life, just to say yes to it. And if we want to escape from it or change it or just be in the practice, and then it's like we're compartmentalizing, we're dividing ourself from ourself. So I would say, just say yes to all of it. There are things that need to be, the consciousness needs to be in these practical things as well. So I think the exercise is, in a way, it's actually sort of bridging between the cushion and life as well, to incorporate these different facets. So so I would say, you know, make it a practice, like see where the resistance is to any of it, and it's all just one practice. Yeah.
And also you said about complete experience. So how to do that in that moment? Even I'm trying, but I see like there's a lot of things need to be done. Maybe there's some do you recommend, like, because I was hearing Zoo that the TRE and the therapy is all, sometimes I feel that is needed, sometimes I feel like you know
Yeah.
meditation is needed.
Yeah, so during the retreat, like we have a lot that we're doing right now, and you're going to be doing breath work with Chad, and we have all these different components. So so maybe, you know, like all of that's in place already. So I wouldn't add anything onto it during the retreat, but maybe after the retreat. See where you're at, you know, see where things are at. We're only on day 3 here, so see how it unfolds, and as the energy starts to become free, you'll naturally just connect with the things that you are meant to connect with, I think. So those things will present themselves for sure. But I would say, you know, and this, I think for everyone, I think it's important, you know, there's a lot in this retreat right now, just doing the sadhana that is in place. So I wouldn't add anything to that necessarily, unless it's like coming from a real place of intuition. But, you know, there's a lot unfolding right now for you. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. So we'll see you back here at 2 o'clock for the yoga practice and then meditation. And once again, I think Tayama will, if you can make a note of whoever's hand is up, and then we can connect with those people first tomorrow.
Yeah, I've done that already. So that's great. Thanks everybody for your resilience and your patience.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. And just one note, probably won't apply to people here, but the people who are using the replays, we have a little technical glitch with Zoom and the recording process. And I'm going to try and resolve that, but there might be a little delay of getting this morning's videos out. So we're going to do our best with that here. So thank you, and we'll see you soon.